Hi everyone, I'm Navid Ansari and today I'm with my second guest. This podcast is moving forward and I love it. This time we have Ali, Iranian Australian. He's an activist, oppositional person. He fights against the Islamic regime and also radical Islam, as I can see in his posts. And he really tried to be contribute to his society in Australia. And also today you can find out how Iranians are good in integration, and maybe that's a model for other foreigners around the world. Why not? Sorry for my voice, guys. I'm sick, but I have this commitment to make this podcast, and I had a really big chance that I didn't want to miss. So I hate long intros. Then fuck it. Ali, welcome to the podcast. How's it going on, brother, in Australia? And bless us
Um,
with your beautiful accent.
I'm going well, brother. I'm going very well. Thanks for having me. In fact, you mentioned the whole integration thing. The fact that you're sick right now shows your level of enthusiasm when it comes to the commitment of doing these things. So good on you, man. I'm doing well. I'm doing well myself. How are you?
Perfect. I'm also perfect, also better that I see right now. About the integration, um, I always go for politics and all this stuff, but it's also so important to talk about the necessities that we want for the future of a prosperous society. And also you are an immigrant, first or second generation, I think, in Australia. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, first
And
generation.
first generation.
Yep.
Okay. And how is it in Australia, first of all, your own experience with integration, first of all, for you, how was it? And second of all, how do you see it in general, the integration for all types of foreigners in Australia? And third of all, the integration issues with Islam. How does it work? Go for it.
Yeah, very good broad questions. Firstly, when it comes to migration in and of itself, the concept of migration, especially as a first generation immigrant, I find it to be it's counterintuitive to say this, but it's actually a quite privileged, advantaged position. Why do I say that? Because on one hand, we come to a new country, such as Australia, the best country in the world. I've had the best life in this country. Like, I have literally no complaints. I am forever grateful for my parents to bringing me and my siblings to this great country. So I've lived the best life, right? With genuine Western liberal democratic values. But on the other hand, at the same time, I have experienced in the eyes of my parents what they had to endure, the suffering that they had to endure, what they had to go through politically, socially, economically, and you sort of see the psychological aspects and certain
Yeah,
traits that they have inherited. And so as the first generation immigrant, you sort of take the combination between the two of those two aspects. Being brought up in a liberal democracy, but at the same time, you have your parents to learn their sorts of traits where you are grateful to live in this sort of liberal democracy. And thereby, you appreciate the life that you have. You don't take anything for granted, especially, most critically, the idea of freedom itself. The idea of
yeah,
freedom of itself is so downplayed by many individuals living here in the West, in Australia and Europe, right? They take it for granted. The idea of freedom of speech, the idea of voting in a democratic
yeah,
election.
really.
A lot of individuals say,
Independently thinking and voting. I mean, it's
yeah,
unimaginable how they treat their voting chance, and they wanna, as you say, take it for granted. It's madness
they don't
because
want to vote. They don't want to vote. They're like, ah, yeah,
yeah,
fucking,
either they don't want to vote or they would go for voting. I don't know, someone that would go for the interests of their beliefs, whatever it is. I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah.
And that's the core problem in democracies that I see also in Europe, the voting and independently thinking for yourself to vote is one of the, because I'm zero, what's it called, generation zero immigrant. I'm 3 years in Germany, and I see
No,
that.
so you're first generation.
Yeah, I just wanted to be
Yeah.
funny,
So
but yeah,
you're
first
actually the
generation.
same as me. I
But
was
you've
born
got
in
born
Iran.
there. I mean, you can.
Yeah, I was born in Iran, but I came when I was 1 year old. So
Ah, okay,
that's
I've got
why,
you.
yeah.
I've got
That's
you.
why I have an Aussie accent. You wouldn't be able to tell. But you're actually the same as me in the sense that we're both
Hmm.
first generation immigrants. Yeah.
And we can clearly see that, that that would be problematic, the way that for some new foreigners in these democratic countries like Europe, or continents like Europe, America, Australia, and others, they are not trying to get integrated, and even
Yeah.
if they are somehow integrated, they didn't realize what's the core value, uh, what's the recipe.
Yeah.
Let's say it easy, what's the recipe that this country remains great. Voting. As a citizen,
Absolutely.
you have a commitment to demand, and you have to, say fuck the government. You have to work for me.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
passion, you don't hear it. I mean, I talk to my foreigner friends, and some of them, and I say, for example, they see this kind of passion from me, that we have to, one day I want to be citizen, I want to vote, I want to have a voice, and they really don't care about it.
Yeah.
how,
Yeah.
how, how is it for you? I mean, how do you see that?
Well, that comes to the whole debate of cultural differences, right? So, and then
Mm.
integration. So that comes to essentially the second part of your question that you asked,
Generally.
um, regarding when it comes to integration, right?
Yeah.
Now, in Australia, and generally in the West, but particularly in Australia, in the early 2000s, um, a concept by the name of multiculturalism was introduced in Australia.
2000.
Now,
No,
multiculturalism,
when was it?
early
2015.
2000s, late
2000.
90s, early 2000s.
Okay.
Yeah. And this concept was the idea that we should embrace all cultures that come to Australia. Okay. Now, many individuals, part of the right wing side of the political spectrum, were skeptical of that idea simply because cultures are different. But anyone from any race who comes to Australia or anywhere in the West should learn to assimilate and integrate within the primary culture, which is essentially Judeo-Christian values, with secularism and liberal democratic concepts integrated within those Judeo-Christian values, right?
Separation between church and government, basically.
Exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's within the Australian Constitution as well. We have separation between the church and the state, which is great, right?
Yeah.
But then many people come with this idea of multiculturalism. They take advantage of that, right? We say in Persian, "Su istifade kardan," right? So they take advantage of this idea, and especially fundamental Islamists, right? They come with this sort of concept and they say, okay, because of multiculturalism, we're going to use and abuse this to overthrow secular democracy.
And
So
we
they
would
use,
say it in your face.
yeah, well, yeah, they say it in your face. So they use secular democracy to get rid of secular democracy. And then this is where we come to the issue that divides race and culture. And I
Mm.
always say this, I hold two things dear to my heart that I will forever keep alongside me. First, freedom of speech, okay? That is a fundamental human right that shall never be stripped from us. And two, culturalism. Culturalism, which is just the idea that we should be able to criticize all cultures and ideas. culture is not the same as race. Race is essentially immutable characteristics, so certain geographic parts of the world that you come from and the color of your skin. If you discriminate based on race, that makes you a xenophobe, a racist, and frankly, go and fuck yourself. But if you're a culturalist, if anything, you are a critical thinker. You take different ideas and different cultures and you debate them and you determine which one is the best. For example, human rights is a made-up idea, is a made-up concept, but we agree that it's a really good idea in order to make society function properly and protect ourselves, to make it a more productive idea. The legal justice system, and all these different ideas, which is essentially part of a culture that certain societies have, that we decided to adopt. So when many people come to Australia, and then they choose...
Your sound got on the
can you
main.
hear me?
Yeah, now it's good.
Yeah, yeah.
And when
Okay,
many
sorry.
people again?
Yeah, so when many people come to Australia or migrate anywhere to the West, in the case of Europe right now as well, especially the UK and France, they say, okay, we're migrating to this country, but we're not going to respect their fundamental core values, and we're gonna try and overthrow it, not with the use of military weapons, but with our voice. In this instance, Islamism, right? In our case that we're talking about in our activism, yes, I do a lot of activism for a free and democratic secular Iran, but I also talk a lot about the threat of the rise of fundamental Islamism in the West, in my
And
case, in
and
Australia.
then we have seen that as Iranians. I think as Iranians we are one step ahead of everyone in the world.
Yeah.
You know why? Because I've heard one time from one of Hamas leaders. Interestingly, what he said was Islamic revolution in Iran was a turning point for the Islamic history and Islamic world.
Yeah.
And I was like, Islamic revolution, why? Then I realized, shit, that motherfucker is right. It's the first time ever in the history of Islam that they could take over a country without, war or direct attack or whatever, just with a revolution, overthrowing a government. That's a turning point for Islamic world, and
Yeah.
we have seen that. And when the world is trying to think what can we do with these Islamist radical Muslims or whatever, we are seeing consequences after 46 years in our country. Bloodshed,
Yeah.
death, oppression, imprisoning, I don't know, kind of, what's it called? Discriminations. Huge discriminations, especially against women because of Islamic law Sharia.
Gender
And
apartheid.
even
Yeah.
men, bro, even men, you know that for this short t-shirt you would have a problem in Iran as a
I think
man.
I have more problems with this shirt in Iran.
Bro, fuck Hassan Nasrallah, really. I
Fuck him, bro.
became
Fuck him.
I became pro-Israel when I've seen, because after the beginning of Gaza war, I was like for 1 year no Israel, really. Even sometimes I had some debates that Israel is, not doing good in Gaza by killing people. After 1 year, I saw that Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah is dead. First of all, I did randomly celebrate it in Frankfurt. I don't want to say what I did. It's not proper for the podcast. Let me censor myself, you know. But I've seen that shit. Israel did something. Finally, I'm not a big fan of Benjamin Netanyahu. I don't care. But he's the prime minister of the country. I'm talking about what IDF did, what their government did. And I was like, finally, a leader, a army, whatever did something in Middle East. Because I was, especially bro, Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah was a saint. that no one can reach him. Therefore, it had really a big psychological effect. And I was like, fuck it, I love it. He did that, and it was a really big turning point for me. And I couldn't believe that Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah is gone. Like my mom was telling me when I was, I don't know, 9, 10, when he was on Islamic regime television. And they were, streaming from Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah. And my mom was like, um, yeah, they say that he lives so secretly, no one can reach him. And the fun thing is that he was under watch of Israel for many years. It was just about strategy that they didn't kill him. That was
Yeah,
all.
yeah. Dude, I'll tell you what, before Nasrallah himself, like when the military operation the IDF conducted with the 2,000 pages, if you told
Oh.
me about a week before that happened, something
Mhm.
like this is going to happen, I would have said, yeah, get the fuck out of here. That is impossible. And then it happened. 4,000 ball sacks gone. How many virgins is that? I don't even know. 2,000 times 72, which, whatever it is, right? Uh, it fucking blew my mind, dude. and then,
Oh.
and then Nasrallah. Oh God, yeah, we were partying. I'll tell you what. For my 30th birthday, it was my 30th birthday last year. My 30th birthday. Do you know what happened? Helicopterlet with
Raisi. Ibrahim
Raisi.
Raisi.
I'm
The
like, this
previous
is the best.
president of Iran. Yeah.
Yeah, the president of the Islamic
Islamic
regime.
regime, better to say.
Um, this is the best 30th birthday present ever. I don't want anything else, right? I just want to quickly go back to what you said regarding Iranians and how we understand so well the threat of Islamism in the West. I always like to think of it this way. Eastern Europeans and Cubans, always listen to them when they tell you the threat of Soviet propaganda and Marxism. Listen to Iranians when they tell you about the threat of the rise of Islamism, because in our case, we're the most prominent case study when it comes to contemporary history and the rise of an Islamist, in our case, imamate. So like a global scale establishment of IRGC and Islamic regime, because it's in their constitution. They want to establish an Islamic globe society of Sharia law.
Islamic Caliphate. Yeah.
Khalifat, yeah. Well, that's the Sunni version. They're both the same shit, but essentially, yeah, across the whole globe, right? So always listen to an Iranian when they tell you about the threat of Islam, and listen to Eastern Europeans and Cubans when they tell you about the threat of Soviet propaganda and Marxism. I always upheld that idea. But yeah,
And what do you think about that? Europe. I mean, I'm again. No, it's fine. Sometimes it changes. I mean, your voice and it
the
goes
sound.
so high. I don't know why, but it's fine. I mean, it's fine sometimes. Anyway, um, um, what do you think that Westerners, like I'm talking about Australia, democratic countries. It's not West actually, you're so South, but anyway, you're still in this West civilization.
We're under.
How is
Down under.
how, how is it that they don't, the society, the majority of the people, they don't take it serious? Because my idea is that unfortunately we have a problem with the young generation. I'm 25. I'm also Z generation. Better to say, I see a big problem with my own generation. That
Yeah,
it seems like that they have inherited democracy and they did forget how to protect it. They have to be a bit tougher about their ideas. You have to really go for the ultimate freedom of speech. The clash of ideas would make something new that we can all live with it, and they became so too much individualistic, I can say, and
Hmm.
my feelings, my life, and whatever. And it's not like that by the people of Hungary. It's not like that with the people of Czech Republic. Czech Republic did ban communism because they know extremism and they don't fuck around with it, They know extremism, it's recognized for them, they had consequences, and these are the generation right now. It's so funny. The leaders that we have right now in these European countries like East, they are the people that did fight for their democracy exactly like
Yeah.
us. We are
Yeah.
fighting for our democracy. I had to learn democracy because Islamic regime under Shariat law and the stuff that we had to learn as a youth, and also gender segregation didn't teach me shit. And
Yeah.
when I learned democracy, I found out it's so precious. It's
Yeah.
above everything, especially Islam. Especially Islam. Above everything. Democracy is the ultimate right now, it's the best form of living for citizens. And they did inherited that, this young generation of Europeans. Wonderful democracy. And they forgot that democracy is not something permanent.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah. It's a really good question, man. And I always like to subscribe to this idea that freedom is not free. Freedom is not free.
Yes.
It's sort of like working your ass off and becoming a millionaire, right? Becoming a millionaire is really fucking tough, but spending that million can do it in 2 minutes. Okay? Same thing works with freedom. You can lose millions of blood and sweat and lives, as we did throughout human history, right? And wars and blood loss in order to obtain freedom. But that freedom could be lost in one day, given that there is enough naivete and complacency. And we're seeing that complacency today in the West, plenty of it, especially amongst Gen Z. Now,
Yeah.
why is that the case? It is simply because of these very, um, you can use the label woke, right? I don't care whatever label you want to call it,
Mm.
but these types of ideas that you have to be tolerant towards everybody and everything. No, you shouldn't.
when
You
when did when did the world work like that? I mean, you have to be tolerant towards everyone, literally everyone.
Well, I like to subscribe to the British Austrian philosopher's idea, Karl Popper, the paradox of tolerance. You should be tolerant up until the individual or that particular idea is intolerant. So be tolerant of all who are tolerant of you and your ideas.
Mm.
Be
Mutual.
intolerant of intolerance. Because the moment you are tolerant to intolerance, intolerance will undermine that particular society and they'll take over. In this case, Islam. We need to
Yeah.
be intolerant of Islam, which is an intolerant ideology as a whole. And
And
that's why many of
yeah.
these sort of Western liberals want to act like, no, it's just political, it's just this and that, we need to be rational about it, but they don't understand anything. They're either
Mm.
come from the constituents of heavy, heavy Marxist ideology who are just interested in tearing down the system because they're deep down miserable themselves, okay? Or they're just extremely tolerant and they have no fucking clue about anything about the Middle East or the idea of Islam. You don't need to be an expert. All you have to do is read the Quran. That's all you need to do. Like literally not much else. In order to understand the
I mean,
depth of peril that you get yourself
yeah,
into if you
you know,
tolerate these things.
that's always their objection. They would say, go for I don't know, Judaism, go for Christianity. They both have also bullshit
Yeah,
stuff in their books. Okay, okay.
They do.
But West did make all its citizens shy, and that's the language that we use. Islamism, Islam, and this kind of stuff, because you can't say there are a minority radical Muslims that they are operating and functioning within these societies.
Yeah.
The people that we would maybe even jail them, I would consider them 20%, in Germany, for example, where I live. The people that we would jail them for their extremism in Middle East, even in Middle East, which Saudi Arabia and UAE, they are doing really better. They are letting them here, with the full style of an Islamist, radical Muslim, and they have institutions and they can operate freely. That's pure madness. Something has to be wrong. And uh, these 20% of Muslims, for example, in Germany, that I consider them radical, maybe even less. Government doesn't do anything about them. We have the rise of AfD, a far-right party. We have on other side the Die Linke, far left of Germany, in my case,
Mhm.
that they are using this situation, and it seems like that they are representing, I don't know, not Germany anymore. They try on other side, majority foreigners, diversity, equity, whatever, these bullshits that never works, and they want to just be nice. And at the end of the day, will the life of these 80% of Muslims is under danger. And believe me, when government does something about it, these 80% majority Muslims, moderate Muslims in Germany, which I believe they are, they would go home, they would sit, and they would say, thank God they did that.
Yeah.
Bro, in Neukölln, do you know Neukölln? New Cologne, one of the neighborhoods in Berlin.
No, no, I don't
It's
know.
it's a bit famous because it's majority foreigner right now. It's one of the
Okay.
places that you can see demographic of the society changed.
Yeah.
And in Neukölln, one time I've heard it from one of my friends. He said that a Syrian businessman, like he had a store, he was talking to me and he was saying, "Throw these bastards out." He was referring to some radical Syrians. They come here, they spit on German old women. What the fuck are they doing? I'm leaving here. I have business. Deport them. Probably is also Muslim. But you see, even the moderate Muslim, which they are the majority, they are done with this bullshit.
Yeah.
That where do these 10, 20%, it can be different in all societies. Where do these motherfuckers come from? Why don't you throw them out? Throw them
Yeah.
out!
Yeah.
You know, how is it on in Australia?
So, okay, so the first thing I want to address is like the difference between those three Abrahamic religions, right? Judaism, Christianity, Islam. Yes, all three of them, the Old Testament has a lot of horrific stuff in there. The New Testament justifies slavery, not a fan of a lot of it. And of course, Islam, we know the whole bunch of disgusting things that are in there, the grotesquity and the erroneous texts that are in there. Okay, but the difference between these three is Judaism and Christianity decided to reform themselves such that they decided to secularize themselves over the past couple hundred years. Okay, and who was the first civilization other than 2,500 years ago with Cyrus the Great? But in recent civilization, which civilization was the first to get rid of slavery?
I think UK.
Yeah, but what I mean is the West. Yeah, it was essentially an English idea, exactly. But it was Western civilization, which was encouraged by, inspired by Judeo-Christian values. So they were the ones who secularized first. The Islamic world, on the other hand, I like to see Islam as a toddler right now. It's still a toddler, and Judaism and Christianity are sort of like the adults. They've grown up. Islam is yet to go through its maturing stage, and it's going through that today. Individuals like Ataturk of Turkey and Reza Shah, in our case, they wanted to secularize Islam. They wanted to modernize it and remove that political aspect from it in order to just maintain an individual spiritual type of Islam for people, which is fine, right? You want to pray, pray.
Yeah.
You don't want to drink alcohol, you don't want to eat pork, do all that stuff, don't care. But don't politicize it. But Islam is still going through that reformation today. Now, you mentioned the whole 80% moderate Muslims and 20% fundamentalist Islamists, we'd call them, yeah? So they want to adopt the whole comprehensive version of Islam by establishing a global scale caliphate. Let's just say, I don't know the exact statistics in Australia and Europe, but let's just say it's the same thing. 20% radicals, Islamists or fundamentalists, and the 80% are the moderates. The issue is, right, a chunk of those moderates, they may be moderate within that democratic society, but when you ask them, do you prefer a Sharia law to be instated in the West? Many of them would say yes. So in my eyes, they're not moderates. Who I would consider moderate is the genuine, I would call them secular Muslims. Okay? A very, very good example is someone like Dalaya, I forgot her last name, the Egyptian Zionist activist who speaks out against Islamism. She wears a hijab herself. She's
Yeah, I
lovely.
think I know her.
I'm
Yeah.
sure you've seen her. I'm sure you've seen her. There's many like her, and many individuals who, in the Arabic Gulf states, as you said, there's more radicals in the West.
Persian Gulf states.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, the Persian Gulf. I don't mean the Persian Gulf. I'm talking about the Gulf states like UAE. You know what
Persian
I'm
Gulf
talking about, right?
states.
But yes,
Bro,
it's the Persian Gulf. Yes, of course.
it's the Persian Gulf states. Yeah. They are
Um,
states around Persian Gulf,
States
like
around the
Iran. Iran
Persian
is
Gulf.
also one state around Persian Gulf.
Yes, exactly. There's more radicals in the West than there are in, for example, the UAE, or like Saudi today is trying to progress itself. They're trying to modernize themselves, right? And they're still backwards, I'll tell you that. Like there's still a lot of them that are very, very backwards, but they're moving forward slowly but surely. Now, this is the thing. I go back to the whole moderate Muslim thing. It is the responsibility of moderate Muslims
Yeah.
to reform Islam. It is not my responsibility, it is not your responsibility, even though we do speak out against it. It is their responsibility. And then the whole issue of accountability of Islam has come to play, which we can talk about. But essentially, the West is going down a hill of strife if they continue with this complacency when it comes to fundamental Islam, because it's very dangerous.
Yeah. And it's already this kind of process with Islamism that we see. It's already ruining the whole structure. Already their coalitions with leftists, and their kind of intervention in the government, not in the good way. And as you mentioned, vote, the way that they vote, because Islamic culture is rooted in Arabic culture. We have tribalism in Arabic cultures, and it's wonderful, it's beautiful, kind of nomadism, being around, they had a really interesting culture. It's Middle East. You can be whatever you want. It's not Europe, you know, that you would go for World War. Um, but after Islam, what I can see that happened is that um, this kind of culture got politicized. And I'm not sure, as I always say, I don't know. It's just a question, no accusation. Uh, Don't we think maybe there is a biased environment between leftist politicians and Islamic Muslim groups or
Yeah,
citizens in the
yeah,
society?
yeah.
Because as we know, they have a kind of
Alliance.
community of the leader, or a kind of, in Persian we say rish sefid, white bird, then someone old that, like in Turkish we say abi, this kind of stuff. And that kind of community leader, so-called, would go, for example, maybe you can talk with a member of parliament. I'm just giving a scenario, no accusation, Um, he can maybe talk with a member of parliament, and they are accessible member of parliaments, Hi, merhaba abi. Uh, I'm from, for example, I don't know, this party. If you would vote for me, God save you. That would be, I wanna do good stuff, And they would lobby, which it's also fine, lobbying. There is no problem with it. But the way that the people would hear that man, because of this culture, is problematic. Because you don't vote independently based on your own idea. You see still yourself in this community. If you do not vote that the party that they are specifically talking about this time, you would be rejected from your community. And that's also connected to the integration,
Yeah.
that you're not integrated in this society. Because I feel like, personally, Ali, you are integrated in this society when you realize finally, because that's what our governments in Middle East didn't give us. You would realize finally that you are free in this, in a sense of that you don't need anyone. You don't need anyone. You can do whatever you want on your own. You can be independent and live your life. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
that's something that politicians mm, don't want to even check, not address, but don't want to check. And it's just the question and just the dreamy scenario. But just for a second, think that it's maybe correct. What should we do then? What about the integration? And also, and before that you explain, tell me about the integration system of Australia, because, bro, integration system in Germany is broken. Also, I have to mention that government has problems with integration also. They don't try hard to integrate people, and people do not try hard enough. But it's a kind of mutual stuff, Integration system in Germany, for example, does everything other than integrating you.
Yeah. Okay, so the way I'll answer that question is I'll answer the last thing that you mentioned and then I'll go backwards.
Yeah.
So regarding integration, well, we have to look at immigration as a whole in general. I'm not sure if you've seen, but literally right now as we speak, especially in the UK and Australia, there's there's a lot of outrage and there's been protests now against mass immigration, right? Simply because of that reason, amongst many others. Um, I'm for migration, but I'm against mass migration. They're two different things. You don't just open the borders and just let everyone in, especially when you don't know their fucking background. So that's a major problem. Okay, there's two problems with mass migration. There's the issue of course, there's not enough resources in order to be able to provide them and your own citizens. Okay, when I say resources, I mean infrastructure, I mean housing, jobs, businesses, and all these sorts of things. But the second thing, which is probably more important, which is what we're talking about right now, is cultural assimilation. When you have mass numbers of people coming in, you don't have enough resources in order to cater to those new migrants to tell them, hey, this is the culture, you must integrate within this culture. And that's another problem with mass migration. You're just getting all these people in, and then if you were to expect all of them to integrate when they don't have anything to look at in order to integrate, right? To adopt, they don't have any values to follow to adopt, then you can't really blame them, especially when a large number of them don't want to integrate. They come here with the sole motive to take over, right? They want to establish Sharia law. Ask them, okay? So then we go back, that's regarding integration. What was the first thing that you mentioned? I forgot. It was connected to that. The first thing you mentioned when you led to that last question, really. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I remember now. So why do those sort of like left-leaning governments lean towards Islamists and whatnot? Okay, this goes
that
back
imaginary
to
scenario, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's not imaginary. It happened in 1979 in Iran, and it's happening right now. As I like to call it, the red-black circle jerk.
Nah, come on. Mohammad Reza Shah did label it like that. Don't be typical. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, I'm labeling it like that. It's a red-black circle jerk. They jerk each other off for good reason.
Circle jerk. Shit.
Circle jerk. What did you think I said?
Mohammad Reza Shah was. I just heard the black and red because Mohammad Reza Shah did say that's the unity, unholy unity of
unholy alliance. Yeah.
Alliance. Yeah.
Yeah. So unholy alliance of the Islamists and Marxists, the red and black. Yeah.
Shout out to Mohammad Reza Shah, you know.
I call it the red and black circle jerk because we see today they're jerking each other off, left, right, and center. That's what it is. I'm calling it out for what it is. So the black are the Islamists. Okay, actually, let's start with the red. The red are the Marxists, the anarchists. They want to tear down the system. They are deep down miserable themselves. And they're so attracted to this idea of class struggle and oppressor and
working class, minorities.
Yeah. Literally, oppressor versus oppressed. And the Islamists, the black, they see that and they say, hey, we're part of Islam. We are the victims, right? Always the Islamists are the victims. Since the time of Muhammad, Prophet Muhammad, they were always victims. And they used that victimhood, they were always attuned to victimhood. That's where the culture of victimization and violence was bred, from Muhammad himself. They always use that victim mentality in order to say that we are oppressed, therefore we must resist. And that resistance is terrorist attacks, violence, colonialism, rape, and all these other things that we see.
Call it Islamic, Ali. Jihad.
Sorry?
It's pure jihad. They did
jihad,
Islam did address
jihad.
it.
Exactly. So the red are attracted to that. It's a marriage of convenience. Both of them come together for a temporary sense of convenience. But then once the Islamists take supremacy, what happens?
They would eliminate, I don't want to use the word, they would eliminate the whole spectrum of leftists.
I think you're saying it in a very nice way. But left, right, center, whatever the fuck you call yourself, you're gone, okay?
Yeah.
Islamists don't give a fuck if you're left or right. They use you temporarily, and that's why we call them useful idiots. They take you from behind raw, and you take it raw without even thinking, without even using a brain.
And even Islam did address that. Taqiyya
Taqiyya
basically allows them, it allows them to lie because of the future power of Islam. For the sake of Islam, you can. It's so interesting that any aspect that you're talking about, it's already addressed by Islamic colonization plan. And we are the ones, Iranians, who got colonized first.
Yes,
Go for it.
correct. Yeah, from the south. In fact, regarding Tahrir, I actually want to talk about that as well. Tahrir itself, one of the biggest things that we see in the West today, a version of Tahrir, is this whole concept of Islamophobia. The moment you start to call out Islamists for their bullshit, and I've had this myself. For example, you call out a particular Islamic preacher for saying that, and this happened recently in Sydney, Australia. We had a preacher. There's many of them, but this particular one, he said, it's dishonorable for the Muslim community that we haven't established Sharia in Australia. I called it out. I said, fuck you, go fuck yourself, go back to live in 57 other Muslim countries. And they called me Islamophobic for saying that. You see, as soon as you call them out, they victimize themselves. And that is how their psychology works. And a lot of the Western liberals fall for that. Because of that word Islamophobia, it's been associated with this idea of being a xenophobe. Therefore, you cannot be Islamophobic. Therefore, you cannot criticize it. And that's what the Islamists are capable of. And people must be very, very precautious of that. And that is one version of Tahrir today in the West. They will use your psychology in order for you not to criticize Islam at all. So they'll lie in your face. They'll tell you that we are victims, we are oppressed, but deep down underwards, they're planning to take over. Yeah.
And I dare you as audience, that call Judaism and Christianity the same way. Because I'm an atheist, I fight against all religions. I fight for Jewish people because of their ethnicity, because of that they are oppressed. The actual oppressed people are Jewish people in Middle East. They are also an ethnic group like others. They have the rights to stay there, have a country like everyone. It's Middle East, bro. All are welcome. If these Europeans or Western societies want to teach us how to be multicultural, we have invented this system like thousands of years ago, and
Cyrus.
Islam colonized the whole thing, and they wanted to go for an ideal society,
Yeah.
But the point is, what's the cause of terrorism by the religion for the last 20, 30 years? Can you say it's Judaism? Can you say it's Christianity? Because they have shit stuff in their religion. They don't implement it. Bro, a Christian in America is talking with radical Muslims. I've seen the video, it was short. And he's saying it's somewhere that church and religion and government has to be separated. A Christian man did believe, finally, that it has to be separated. We can't combine that. So that's the difference. They are integrated in modern societies. So, but with the case of Islam, we don't see that, and that's and we see also the cause of terrorism. It's because of Islam. Still a minority that they are damaging the majority of Muslims. The Muslims that they want to leave. They want to have a prosperous life. They want to just have their life like normal people, which I believe they are majority. And they are majority, but no one even tries to address their problems. That's problematic. And the way that, and it's the main point. The main point that it irritates me is that me and you, we can talk about it freely. Maybe they would try to cancel us, but they can do shit, because you know why? Because we are Middle Easterns, and they can't label us Oh, come on, a white colonizer is trying to criticize
Racist.
some poor people. They are racist. And that's problematic. How Qatar did infiltrate the whole universities of Western
Yeah,
societies, and they did weaponize all this fascist stuff. Fascism is not good. I
Islamophobia.
know
That word was created by
Islamophobia.
Islamists. Yeah,
They did
Qatar.
weaponize this kind of they made their own literature, and they would label you as soon as possible that whenever you say something or criticize, and they would label you as white colonizer. How fucked up it should be. And they are the owner of this country. What do you mean white colonizer? Yeah, so what? Like which history is pure? Their discourse is fucked up, is madness. It's unbelievable. And it's working. And really,
Yeah,
sometimes I'd say to my German friends, believe me, I am your hope. The people like me, we are your hope. That they can't go with this identity card with us, and we are not the ones to be far right. Also, they can't call us that. We are playing wise. We hate far right. We are
yeah,
playing wise, and they can't do shit about us. And we are the people like us. We are really the chances of democratic countries because
yeah.
they are oppressing everyone. Why they
Hmm.
are not stopping Qatari's money? Why are they not banning Al Jazeera? Al
Yeah,
Jazeera is a fucked up media. Al Jazeera is a bunch of lie. I don't know if it's true or not. That's the freedom of my speech, bitch. I want to use it. Fuck Al Jazeera. That's my freedom of speech. Ban
yeah,
Al Jazeera. What do they do except spreading propaganda for a
I,
tribal fucking country with 300,000 people? Respect to their sovereignty. But they are a tribe, an Arabic tribe. How
yeah.
they have that much influence? Sorry,
Dude,
I've got irritated
fuck
again.
Qatar. I'm gonna say that bluntly. Fuck him. Um, yeah, that's literally it. Fuck him. I always say this: Nazi propaganda, Soviet propaganda, and today Islamic regime propaganda (IRGC) trumps everything. They're always going to be winning in the propaganda PR game. And and the reason why I say this is Daesh, ISIS, Taliban, Boko Haram, Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthi, IRGC, all of them same shit. The only difference with the IRGC is that they have had the best propaganda machine.
Yeah.
And in fact, half of their training curriculum for the new militants is pertained to indoctrination and propaganda training. And a lot of that is Mahdiism, right? And you'd know about Mahdiism, this whole
Yeah.
Shiite idea that the final messianic imam will return to the earth. He's currently hiding in a fucking well for some reason. And the only way he will return to the earth to enlighten the planet and establish justice is by eradicating Israel, eradicating America, eradicating the West, and establishing an Islamic imamate or caliphate.
Mm.
And so they're indoctrinated by this idea the moment they start militant training, right, in their Islamist camps. So it just makes sense. All this propaganda, they're going to be winning the PR game. They are 10 steps ahead of us. It's like a game of chess.
Yeah.
They're always 10 steps ahead of us. And so the Western liberals, they don't know any of this. They don't listen to that. They don't listen to us when we tell them. But yeah, they're winning the propaganda game, but we have to keep it going, man. We have to keep
Yeah.
it going,
We
no
have
matter
to be
what.
hopeful. I
No
mean,
matter what.
first episode, I've talked with Mikhail. He's Egyptian. He's
Yeah,
also
yeah,
from Middle East.
Coffee. Good guy, good guy.
Yeah.
I've been watching his stuff. Really good
And
guy.
he explained it easily, but also effective. he said, I was talking about Qatar, that how did these motherfuckers, how they did do that, how they could infiltrate the whole Western societies. And he was like, it's with Al Jazeera. I mean,
Yeah,
the quote, he said the big thing that puts Qatar on the map is Al Jazeera. And I didn't, it's so interesting. I didn't know
2022
that
World Cup as well.
I didn't
That
know
was
that
big.
Al Jazeera is so big. I
Yeah,
didn't have a single fucking idea. Really. Like,
very big.
I did realize last week that Al Jazeera is so big. And is it also like that in Australia, that so many liberals, they are following it? Is it
Oh,
really true?
absolutely. Plenty.
What the
Yeah.
fuck? What the fuck are they thinking to themselves? I can't believe that you're a liberal, you're a leftist, and you're
They
following Al
don't think.
Jazeera.
It's just there. I'll tell you what it is, man. It's this again. It goes back to this whole Orientalist liberal approach that if you're following any media that's not white, okay, because you want to be like a social justice warrior, and you want to be tolerant of anyone that's not white, um, therefore it must be valid. So, so again, the Islamists use that, right? They use that sort of dumb mentality and they say, okay, we use this because it's convenient to us. And they use them as useful idiots, as their pawns. So you feed them any media that's not white and they'll take it. They'll take it. You literally give them an Islamist that'll tell them, yep, apostates should be killed. They'll be like, oh, that's interesting. That's exotic. It's different. It's exotic. Tell them about clitorectomies. You know, in
What's
North
that?
African clitorectomies, female genital mutilation. Right?
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, it's horrible. I have literally heard some of them say, like, yeah, I can't criticize it. It's a different culture. I swear on my mother's life, I'm not saying, I'm not joking when I
No.
say that. Yeah,
In your
yeah,
face.
yeah, because they're afraid to criticize it because it's like an Islamic culture.
Bro, what the hell is wrong with them? I mean, your own assessment. What the hell is wrong with these societies? Because as I told you, they didn't inherit
Yeah,
democracy. What's your assessment?
it goes back to this abhorrent idea of multiculturalism and associating culture with race. Okay, when we associate these two together, it becomes very intertwined and it's wrong. It's wrong because I repeat, race is completely different to culture. Okay? There's many parts of Australian culture which I consider wrong. For example, we have dog racing in Australia. I think it's wrong. It should be abolished. Okay? That's a part of culture. It's nothing to do with race. We have certain parts of Iranian culture that I'd consider to be uh, pretty bad. But I
Yeah,
would argue a
absolutely.
lot of our culture today is actually inherited from Islam. And that's
Yeah,
why we
yeah.
are the way that we are, right? There's many traits of different parts of the world, European culture that I would consider to be somewhat rude and arrogant. But again, these are cultures. It's not a race thing. It's not dependent on the color of your skin or where you come from. It's just dependent on the values that you have inherited over time based on whatever ideologies or ideas or certain ideas that have been adopted throughout that corresponding society over time. So that's what it comes down to. And the unfortunate reality is today, many people, especially in Gen Z, have associated culture to be the same thing as race. And that is completely wrong. It's a fallacy. Yeah.
How can we really justify their pure ignorance? No, man, when you're, I don't know, I'm 40 years old, 50, 60, I want to lecture you, that, no, it's not right what you're doing. I'm an old man, you can say that, okay. But when I'm 25, I'm the same generation. I'm one of the victims of, and you're also young. You're 30, right?
31. Yeah.
31. Kind of the same. And we are young people, victim of Islamic regime, and we have seen what would happen. And how is it, and how can we justify this idiocy of, is it the right word? Idiocy?
Idiocy. Yeah.
Idiocy? No, don't say it with Australian accent. Come on, take it easy. Idiot. Fuck it. How
Yeah.
can we? How can we?
Idiocy. Yeah, I'm pretty
Idiocy.
sure
Okay.
it's that. Yeah, I could be
How
wrong, but
can
anyway.
we justify their ignorance?
Yeah.
Because it's so interesting that they are not dumb, bro. They are Gen Z. We've got
Yeah.
why we are Gen Z because since 2000 we've got born with fucking iPhone. Computer technology. We are the
Yeah.
first generation of humankind that got
Yeah.
born and raised with technology.
Yeah. Yeah.
How can I accept it that they are fighting, for example, Palestine, but they are not criticizing the same oppressors, Hamas, that they are also oppressing their own people? The people in Palestine, in Gaza, whatever you want to call them, Arabs, I don't care. Those people, they are oppressed by Hamas. They don't address that. They try not to condemn Hamas and take it as a whole resistance. How can we justify this ignorance? Because they know, bro. First of all, they are some, I know that they are uninformed. I mean, it's madness. I can't believe that they are so uninformed. And maybe it's also because of Al Jazeera. They fill up the whole time of them with their bullshit. Therefore, they don't go for their own research and they don't make up their own mind. But at least I think, especially in Germany, 40-50% of Gen Z, they know what will happen under an Islamic law with you. They know if you are gay or lesbian, your destination would be the fourth floor of a building.
Gays
They
for Palestine.
know when you are a woman, you don't have you have nothing. You don't have any respect. You can't talk without a man that he's vouching for you. They know, but they are still ignorant. How can you justify it or explain it for yourself, to digest this shit a bit?
Well, in the same way, the way I'd answer that question is in the same way you cannot rationalize Islam, you cannot rationalize Islamist mentality, you cannot justify their ignorance. There's no justification for it, but you rather just acknowledge it. It is what it is. What we need to look at is why is it the way that it is? Like, what's the reason for it? And it all comes back down to the PR game, man. TikTok, the Instagram generation, it is flooded with pro-Palestinian and let's be serious, right? Pro-Palestinianism, or Palestinianism rather, is rooted in Nazi, Marxist, and Islamist propaganda. All those
Correct.
three combined, right? It's nothing to do with Palestine. Never had anything to do with Palestine. None of them give a fuck about Palestine. None of them care about Muslims have been slaughtering Muslims since 1400 years ago in the fucking millions. No one gives a fuck. No one says a single word. But the moment where a single Jewish majority state, which is a fucking third of the size of the state of Tasmania, which is a southern state in Australia. It's tiny, a third of the size of that state. The moment that tiny, piss little state is defending its sovereignty, everyone has a fucking whinge. And that tells me a lot. Not only is it anti-Semitism, but it's also a matter of just these people deep down again being miserable and they need to find some sort of tribe to belong to. They're lost. They have no purpose in life, so they don't question anything. So Australia, Harbour Bridge, there's a big protest happening. We're gonna go. Of course, you're gonna have some sort of sense of euphoria and belonging. You're gonna meet people there. Maybe after the protest, there's gonna be a massive orgy. I'm not even joking. That shit happens. It's nothing to do with Palestine, dude. None of these people care about Palestine. If they cared about Palestine, speak up against Hamas, hand back the hostages, surrender, the war will finish in 5 minutes. If you really give a fuck about peace. It's that simple. They don't care about Palestinians. They don't care about the fact that Hamas oppresses Palestinians. They have yet to say a single word for the Palestinians who have been protesting against Hamas. They don't say shit about that. That should
It's
tell you
interesting.
everything.
And you know, I always say I'm a person that I believe when the principles are right, you don't need to be that much creative. You just need to repeat your points. And I've said it many times that where were these fucking pro-Palestinians in 2006 for Arab children in Gaza?
Yeah.
You have seen that they are teaching them military trainings. They are training them militarily. They are giving them these shitty ideas. God, thank God, let me say it as an atheist, thank God it's documented. A kind of, I don't know, childish program on television, the kind of is sitting there. 4 or 5 years old Arab child, a girl, a beautiful girl, a beautiful soul. She's sitting there, and that bitch is asking, uh, when you're adult, how many Jews do you want to kill?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Naima, how many Jews do you want to kill? And the poor child is just trying to be acceptable among adults, and she's giving a number. Maybe she can't even count till 10, and she would say 5. And that motherfucker is telling, oh, you want to kill 5 Jews in the future. Bro, this kind of stuff Hamas did give to Palestinian children. That's
Mm.
a genocide. That's the execution of their brains.
Mm.
That's what these motherfucker radical Muslims, Islamists, whatever you want to call these fucking piece of shit, they did that to me. They did that to all of us in Iran. They ruined
I was
our brain.
actually just going to ask you because I was going to refer that to Iran. I've lived my entire life in Australia, but I see plenty of clips in Iran, right, of children, like 4-year-old little girls, put in this massive gown, right? You can barely see their face, telling them about martyrdom. And all these things that I've seen and heard. So I want you to tell me now. Tell me about your school life, what they tell you to chant and that sort of stuff. I really want to know.
Always, death to Israel, it was always in our school. Death to America, death to England. Sometimes I was like, England was not in the game, bro. Why?
Australia as well?
Australia, no, no, no.
Good.
You people are too far. You are in another universe. Come on,
Yeah,
Australia.
yeah.
I think if I come to Australia, I would expect something like Canada. Or with the hot version. I mean, the weather is so shitty. Sorry for this example. Something between America and Europe. I think your culture is something between that. I'm not sure.
We've got a very unique culture, to be honest, very unique, and I'm
Mm.
proud to say that Australian culture is very unique. Yeah, we have adopted. It's more European than it is American, to be honest,
Ah,
because
okay.
Americans actually get offended by us, especially the way we talk, with a lot of the slang, like the word cunt. But
Cunt.
yeah, yeah, but our culture is quite unique here in Australia. We're very laid back and very, very easygoing. Um, But yeah, see, Iran. Like I've seen so much footage and heard from every single person that I know who is Iranian, who
Mm.
has lived in Iran, who has been brought up, and the schools that they went to. Every single day, without a doubt, death to Israel, death to America, death to the West.
And
And
no
the
one is
West.
saying it, bro. No one is saying it. You
Yeah, no
see
one is saying it,
nowadays
but
that
that's what they
in a
teach you.
school they are saying death to Israel. The students are chanting death to Palestine.
Oh, I saw, I saw that. I saw that.
Oh my God.
I saw that. I saw that.
Oh.
Yeah, I also I really love that chant, man. I got to say the chant in the stadium that's gone viral.
Shove that Palestinian flag up to your ass.
Yeah,
پرچم فلسطینو بکن
yeah.
تو کونت. It
The,
has
you
rhyme,
see,
people, in Persian.
yeah, but the thing is, you see, you gotta explain the context behind that because Western liberals see that and they're like, "Fuck, look at Iranians. They're a bunch of psycho,
Yeah,
genocidal child killers,
yeah. Good point,
maniacs,
good
right?"
point. Go for it.
So, so, and this is what we get a lot. Again, it goes back to the regime propaganda and how their propaganda is doing so well. They have single-handedly managed to convince the world that they are the victims and that we are the ones attacking them. People need to understand that just the word Palestine, just the word Palestine alone is a word that is traumatizing for Iranians who have been brought up in Iran. It is one of the most traumatizing words.
True.
Lebanon, Palestine, and these two, particularly these two words, right?
And
When it comes
Syria.
to Lebanon, we mean Hezbollah because Lebanon is a beautiful country. And unfortunately, because of Hezbollah and the PLO, Lebanon is in a very dire state for a very long
Yeah.
time now. Obviously, since the civil war, and I do hope that Hezbollah is dismantled in its entirety, so that Lebanon can return to being a majority Christian state and bringing enlightenment back to the country. Anyways, so the word Palestine is very, very traumatizing for Iranians, and for good reason, because every single bit of dime and resources from a country that is one of the most wealthy in the entire globe, second largest gas reserves in the world, the fourth largest oil reserves in the world, let alone all the historical artifacts and tourism that revenue that it can have and the potential that our country can have. Every bit of dime, not a single iota of it is given back to the Iranian people. It is given trillions of dollars is funded straight into terrorist proxies, Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, Hashtag Shab, Syria, all of which today, all of it today, none of it has gone to any benefit, zero benefit to Palestinians, to any sense of liberation for anyone in that region. Only people who have lost have been innocent civilians, at the most Iranians, I'd argue. And that's
And you
why the
know,
word Palestine is so traumatizing for
mm,
Iranians. And people are waking up finally, because enough is
you know,
enough.
um, I personally say it, and I take responsibility for my words because it's true, that no one has the right to talk about Palestine and Gaza, that part especially, more than anyone, more than Iranians. No one more than Iranians. We are the righteous people to give our opinion about Gaza. Why? Who did build Gaza?
Yeah.
Palestinian money? I don't know. Arab money, Saudi money, Qatari's money, Israeli money,
Well, a
American
great deal
money,
of the
European.
West, actually, a great deal of the funds from UN and the West went into Gaza,
Absolutely, that's also
which
included. But
which all
I'm
got
talking about
used for
Middle East.
fucking yeah, yeah,
I'm talking about Middle Eastern people.
yeah, yeah.
Still, they are behind. the amount of money that we gave, because you know that how rich is Iran, you know? Iran is among the top 5, top 10, top 5 countries in the world with all resources. If we consider all resources, Iran is between top 5 to top 10
Yeah.
countries in the world. It's amazing. And you know, that money was my welfare system as an Iranian child, was my social security, my social benefits, my healthcare, all those stuff. Even BAföG. BAföG in, for example, Germany is BAföG. It's an institution that gives you money when you're studying. That was my BAföG in
Yeah.
Iran. I really wanted to study and uh, get have an income. It was the money of the woman in Iran that, for example, they couldn't go to work because they had child, you know, and they should take care of their children, and they want to stay in home with their will, and no government is there to give them a monthly income. You're a woman in this society. Thank you that for your courage that you did limit your with your own will life to take care of your child. Okay, we should, as government, we should take care of you because we don't want to see a hierarchy in your house. How can we do it? The real feminism, that's the real feminism. When you have your own resource of money, there can be no hierarchy from the man. If there is, you can sue him. Why how I realized that? Because I've got born in a feminist, true feminist family. 4 men, last decision by mom, and she did work with my father side by side, and they didn't need to, and they did take care of me so hard. Where was the fucking government? Where was my fucking money? All this stuff in school, and they gave it to Gazans. They gave it to the Lebanese. Even I would be so glad if they were giving it to Lebanese. They gave it to Hezbollah. You know, so fuck Palestinian ideology. When they've established and developed a country, I would be the first person to work on it and tell to Israelis, that's the time we have to work together in Middle East. But when you let them to establish and develop a terror machine, and you don't uh, show to the world a single sign of a Palestinian state or country, how should we consider and Palestinian as a country, Palestine as a country, and we shouldn't say fuck this Palestinianism as an ideology. It is an ideology, and the worst terroristic one.
Yeah, Palestinianism in and of itself is an ideology that has been abused. Now, many might be offended by that. And I'm not talking about the innocent civilians, and my heart really breaks, and as everyone's would, for those innocent civilians, for those Arabs who are living there in the midst of all this, whilst you have a group of fanatics from each spectrum, from Nazis, neo-Nazis, to Marxists, to Islamists, who just want to use this Palestinian ideology to gain supremacy, to gain control, be it in the West or in the Middle East. Meanwhile, you have a force, the IDF, Israel. Yes, not everything that they do is right. Yes, they should be subject to criticism. But by no means is that to suggest that they shouldn't exist as a sovereign state, because it's the only place in the world that people have the audacity to to make these sort of claims. And that tells me a lot about what you actually care about. Because you don't give a fuck about Palestinians, you give a fuck about the fact that it is Israel. And I don't need to explain anything more obvious than that.
Bro, that's the point, you know. Golda Meir, one of the prime ministers of Israel, the woman, she said really interesting quote. She said, um, Palestinians, it's not the accurate quote, but something like that, that they would have a state when their love for their children is bigger than their hate towards Jewish people. It's really magnificent, and it's something that we Persian we said we have to write it with gold, you know. But talabat بنویسی. We have to really write this quote with gold. It's completely true, and it's for decades ago, this quote, but it's still functioning. Their hate because of Islamic ideology towards Jewish people is not something that we can justify. And believe me, these Jewish people, they are badass people. Badass people. They have IDF. They don't go nowhere. They go nowhere. Nowhere. Believe me, they are there, the place that they have to be for the rest of the history of Middle East and the world. So they are just ruining their own life. And you know, this victimhood, trying to victimize themselves, yes, it would, you know, destroy a part of the Jewish people's life. They would be oppressed in the future in Europe, in other parts, you know. But come on, these are the people that they were under genocide for 3,000 years, and they don't give a fuck, bro.
Since their conception, that they've always been an oppressed minority until the state of Israel was established. Really,
And they are
yeah.
just fucking up their own chances. And I think personally, um, you know, establishing Palestine is done. Hopefully, hopefully, there would be a place for them to come back and live under, you know, and I really feel sad for that, bro. Fuck Hamas. Fuck everyone. We are Iranians. We hate that someone tells us, you're Iranian, you speak Arabic. We hate that. You know, it's because of Islamic colonization. But at the end of the day, I am cousin. We are cousin with these Arabs. You know? And I feel sad that this idea that they would have a state for themselves is dead. Because you know how you can see how terrorism did ruin their lives. I mean, look at the pictures from Gaza. Bro, it's destroyed. And just for the actions of bunch of lunatics, a radical terrorist group called Hamas. It's a tragedy. And their idea is that which country, where they want to establish it, with which ideology, how. And it's sad. And I don't know, because it's not just about Palestinianism. I don't know if Muslims want to keep this ideology till eternity, because they won't win. Believe me, we have these estimations, or at I don't know, assessment, they would be the biggest majority
Yeah.
religious groups in 2050. It's bullshit. Yeah, they would be, but that's a lie. I am still considered the Muslim in country in
Yeah.
Iran.
Yeah.
99% according to regime's statistics, they are 99% of the people they are Muslim. What the fuck? Unofficial research in Iran shows in it was like 2020 something like that. Around about 30% of Iranians are not the ones that they don't believe in any religion or whatever. They are atheists.
Yeah.
I claim if Iran become free, we would have the biggest atheist minority, at least in the Middle East.
Dude, Islam is finished. Finished. Tomorrow, revolution, Islam is finished in Iran. I'm absolutely convinced of
And
that. Like,
they know it's
yeah, they know
that's
this. Yeah.
fearful. They know that
I
Islam, woman, life, freedom, revolution, it's their poison for their Islamic ideology.
women's liberation has always been poison, the poison of Islamic ideology. It's that
Yeah.
simple. Because when women are liberated, it is the dynamite of Islam. It's that simple, right?
And with that, it would trigger um a kind of um you know, back-to-back revolutions. Believe me, what
Yeah.
Islamic um
Afghanistan. I
Iran,
hope.
although that Iran is not a major country anymore in the world, but still we Iranians, you know, we spread some stuff into the world once in a while. For example, nationalizing oil. You know,
Mm,
it triggered a wave, kind of global wave. Global
yeah.
movement for nationalizing your oil reserves, and that's the fear of especially Arabic countries. Bro, if you have a woman life freedom revolution, what would happen to the women of Saudi Arabia that they are oppressed, or Qatar, or other countries? Maybe they would go for a revolution. They are already going for prosperity, and after getting their prosperity and choices, they would maybe go for also more choices in political spectrum.
That has already sort of happened. Like you can use it as a case study. The 2009 Green Movement in Iran. What did that trigger in the Arab world? The Arab Spring in
Mm.
2011, right? So we already have a case study for that, where the Arab states such as Tunisia, Egypt, Syria, and whatnot led to the uprising of different movements for freedom, right?
Yeah.
So absolutely it'll take place. I have no doubt about that, man. I have absolutely no doubt. And a free Iran will be free of Islam, or at least Islamic ideology.
No, it
Absolutely no
wouldn't be.
doubt in my mind.
I mean, it wouldn't be. We don't try to be free of Muslims. We are trying to be free from this Islamic colonization that happened
There will still be
1,400
Muslims,
years ago.
but the vast majority of people will not be Muslims. You can see the exponential
Yeah,
rate rise of people reverting back to Zoroastrianism, our indigenous religion. Many people are converting to Christianity, and of course, probably the chunk of Iranians who are agnostic or atheists. And I hear many Iranians today saying this is the renaissance of Iran. And I'm like,
yeah,
wow, that
yeah.
makes a lot of sense. In some sense, we sort of needed the Islamic regime in order to figure out, like, let's fucking wake up. We don't need this in our country. Like, enough is enough. 1400 years, that's it. Let's get rid of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Purge it.
Um,
Yeah,
what do you think about Zionism? Because
yeah,
we've talked about it, and let me frame it like that. I think if you, for me personally, being anti-Semite is something that I would say, fuck you, you're dumb. But when you say you're anti-Zionist, you trigger me. Because when
mm,
you're anti-Semite, like you're racist, I don't know, you have um, uh, illegitimate ideas about a minority or whatever. But when you say you're anti-Zionist, you are against the Jewish majority country called Israel, which 20% is Arab. Okay? And that's not something that I can tolerate. And it's interesting to me how they could make this pro-Palis, Al Jazeera, whatever they are, they could justify that it's fine to be anti-Zionist, and they've represented Zionism as a fascist ideology. Although it's so interesting, Zionism even doesn't have that much to do with Judaism as a religion.
it
It's
doesn't. It doesn't.
nationalist idea. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Yeah, a lot of people have been sort of relating it back to this, especially the Shiite Muslims. They make it out to be this whole Jew, Jewish like supremacist idea, but it's nothing to do with that. You can be an atheist Zionist. Theodore Herzl, from what I understand, obviously, the Israeli proponents will know much better than me, but from what I understand, he wasn't a devout Jew. But
Mm.
anyways, I'll answer your question. And the way I'll answer your question is by starting to say this. I actually respect the Nazis and the Islamists more than like the social justice warrior, woke hippie type who wants to act as if they love peace and compassion and they stand up against injustice. but they say all these jargon words like anti-Zionism, but when it comes down to it, they're just anti-Jewish. At least the Nazi and the Islamist will say to your face, yeah, I want the Jews gone, or yeah, I want all infidels gone, or yeah, I want all non-Aryans gone in the case of Nazis. I actually respect them more. They say it straight to your face. So I go back to your question, Zionism. And you've already defined it for me, but in this day and age, many people define it differently. So I
Mm.
always ask them, like, how would you define it? And my answer would be, if you define it in the biblical way, I don't subscribe to any religion, so I dismiss it anyway. But in the nationalist sense, the simple idea that the state of Israel has every right to exist and it has every right to preserve its sovereignty and protect its citizens, and exist as a Jewish majority state, which again is so fucking small, abso-fucking-lutely. And the thing that blows my mind is we only have a label for this Zionism. We only have a label for a Jewish majority state. We don't have such a label for Australia. Australia, yes, Australia has a dark history of genocide against the indigenous Aborigines. Many horrible things happen. But today, would we ever suggest that Australia should be abolished because of its past? Should Australia be eradicated? We don't ever question this idea that everybody who has migrated to Australia, apart from the Aboriginal native Australians, everybody else should go back to where they came from. We would never suggest that. Although some people do today, to be honest. There's some people say we should abolish Australia. Part of this whole Palestinian movement, we see that eradicate Australia, abolish Australia, which I've been talking about a lot on social media. But people only say that when it comes to Israel. And that is exactly why, if you're anti-Zionist, when it comes down to it, you're anti-Jew. You might not be inherently like hateful against a Jewish person, but you're anti the idea of Jews having their own state, which they've had since 1948, legally recognized. So, and if today you're still suggesting that that needs to go, it needs to be eradicated, you need to grow the fuck up. Seriously. I used to, many years ago, I used to identify with the whole two-state solution proponents. I even probably would have identified as pro-Palestinian if you asked me when I was like 18 years old. But eventually you grow up and you start sort of looking into it, and you see, I sort of understand the mentality of these people when they look at it from a very black and white view of oppressed and oppressor. It's very easy to judge when you look at mainstream media. You see pictures and clips of kids under rubble and bombs and all these things. But you just look at the background information and you realize what the reality is. It all comes back down to ideology. And the idea of Zionism is simply an idea which is not based on exclusion. Zionism doesn't exclude Muslims. It doesn't exclude Arabs. It doesn't exclude Persians. It doesn't exclude atheists. It doesn't exclude anyone. It's just this idea that recognizes, hey, a Jewish majority state exists and they have every right to preserve that sovereignty. That is it. It's that simple. And if you don't subscribe to that idea, you're anti-Jew. Because if you don't know anything about history, the Jews have been amongst the most oppressed minorities throughout the history of civilizations. It's that simple.
About Iran, you said, for example, we Persians. What do you think about the word Persians? Because first of all, I personally
Yeah.
find the word Persian First of all, a fascistic word,
Yeah.
I would tell you. Persian is just a language, it's our culture adopted by the whole nation.
It's an ethnicity. It's an ethnicity.
No,
Obviously,
it's not. We don't have
it's
any
not.
ethnicity as Persian. No, we don't have. That's the
I'd like
interesting
to hear.
part about
Yeah.
Iran. We don't
Tell me.
have,
Tell me.
you know, and I've asked ChatGPT even for that bit. The definition of ethnicity, we don't have any Persian ethnic group in Iran. We have Persian as a culture, because for
Farsi.
example,
Farsi.
again,
Close. Farsi.
Pars,
Yeah.
Pars was first of all Haqqamanishian Achaemenid Empire, Cyrus
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Great. They were calling themselves Iran Aryana, first of all,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
Pars.
Yeah.
The word Persian is from Greece,
Yeah. That's
Perseus,
true.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what in those days our enemies or Europeans they were calling us. We don't have anything called Persians. We
Yeah.
have Persian as a language. It was always it's so great. And Iran is great because of that. Because Cyrus the Great founded a country, a civilization, established one that it's based on civil rights. And these motherfucker white dumbass useful idiots can't believe that we have a country that never have had colonization. Why I say that? Because first of all, he did liberate the Jewish people, not with the same measurements that we have today, but 2,500 years ago. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
fucking,
Abolished
fascinating.
slavery. Yeah.
The first Bill of Rights, kind of. We have liberated them. I would respect your religion, whatever you want to worship. Just be under this bureaucracy, under this discipline.
Yeah.
That's all. And this idea, we carry this idea till today. Why? Look at the facts. We have Kurdish people in Iran. We have Baluchi people in Iran. We have Gilaki people in Iran. Lor, Bakhtiari, Arab in Bushehr, Arab in Khuzestan, different types of Arabs. I mean, at least as their cities, Azeris, Turks, um, so many others that I don't know. We have tens of ethnic groups in Iran. If there were a Persian dominant group that they did one day colonize the whole country, why do we have these so many ethnic groups right now in Iran, motherfuckers? Tell me. Go search throughout the history. If you could prove to me that a Persian ethnic group that if it did exist yesterday, today it doesn't exist anymore. They did colonize and they did build Iran. Tell me, you can't find any sign or historical signature of it. Nothing. Nothing. And you can prove it with the nowadays country that we have, this diverse country. So actually, the Kaaba, like the Kaaba for Muslims that they pray to it, the Kaaba of these radical so-called progressive leftists must be Iran. Iran is already the multicultural cultural country. Really, even
Yeah. Yeah.
the Iran doesn't mean the land of Persians. Iran means the land of Iranians. Who's
Yeah.
Iranian?
Yeah.
Kurds are
Land of
Iranian.
Aryans.
Baluchis are
Land of
Iranian.
Aryans. Yes.
And that's the thing that these motherfuckers don't want to acknowledge. For example, they fight for the rights of Kurdish people to have their own land. You know, and these motherfuckers insult us with calling Kurdistan with the part of Iran. First of all, the majority of Kurdish people in Iran, at least, absolute majority, at least 70%, at least, they believe that they are Iranian. Second of all, and those 30% they are kind of like also Z generations that they need research, they need to talk with some people like me, like the same kind, Z generation, Iranian, and these motherfuckers don't know shit about the complicity, geographical complicity of that region. They don't know where Zagros is. They don't know what's East Zagros civilization and West Zagros civilization. These are the important stuff to think about. And they talk about the oppressed Kurdish people in Syria, Iraq, and Turkey, which they are. respect, they are oppressed. But they can't define themselves as the owner of these countries in their own country. You can't say that I'm a proud Iraqi Kurd, but you can say I am an Iranian Kurd, and I can't, as a Shirazi person, I can't do shit about it. You are the owner of the whole country, as I am.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't define that, and Islamic
yeah, very
regime
true.
can't ruin it, although that they did try, and Islamic
They've tried.
colonization.
They've tried. Yeah,
But that's stable, bro. That's stable. That's
yeah,
legit. We are all owners. Baluchis, Gilaks, Azeris, Turks, Kurds, the Arabs. They could and they can and they will define themselves as Iranians. That's a unique part of Iran. Therefore, when we say Persian, I think we Iranians we have to talk about it. That we are Iranians. There is no Persia. There is no Persian as an ethnicity. It's because this bunch of
oh, yeah. I,
radical
I only saw it as an ethnicity, not as a nationality, because nationality is Iranian, right? I always
we
say
don't have
Iranian.
any
Yeah,
ethnicity as Persians. Okay,
yeah.
so I have to be Persian because Persian is my mother tongue. What's our culture? We know what's the culture of Kurdish people. What's ours?
I don't know. Well, there's there's plenty, but that's something I'd like to look into actually, just
Yeah,
regarding Persian ethnicity, if it's just made up rather.
it's city
But
city. It's city by city. And you know
yeah,
who made that? This radical, mostly Iraqi, Syrian, and Turkish courts that they are here as a refugee. They want
mm,
a case. I am a refugee. I've seen this process. Mostly they are not from Iran. First of all, second of all, this problem and identity crisis that they have. They want to kind of with this victimhood. They want to go further and they want to call out for all the Kurdish people, Kurdish minorities in ethnic groups in the world. And who do you need? Because the oppressor, when you are the victim, you need oppressor. Yeah, Turkey is your oppressor, Syria is your oppressor, Iraq is your oppressor,
yeah,
but in Iran, Islamic regime is the oppressor of all Iranians,
yeah,
not just
not
Kurdish people.
Iranians. Yeah, yeah,
So not Iranians. Which Iranian did oppress you? When in the history? And it's not my own opinion. So why they are not following or what's it called? They are not um fuck it, whatever. They are not adopting the same kind of mindset from this kind of courts. And these people are also minorities. They are refugees in here with their radical ideas. They are 10, 20. And these people gave us Persian ethnicities. They are oppressors. It's a made up identity. What do you mean Persian? I'm Iranian. I speak Persian. I'm proud.
In
That's all.
fact, interesting fact is that the Kurds were amongst the first um, group of individuals. They
Hmm.
probably were the first actually who started the agricultural revolution in the entire world around
Kurds are in
12,000 years
are
ago. Yeah,
from Medes and Pars,
yeah,
Elamites and
yeah,
Medes.
yeah,
Even I'm
yeah,
not sure about Pars, but whatever. Elamites
yeah,
and Medes, they were the civilizations
yeah.
back then
Around
before
12,000
Cyrus
years
the Great.
ago. Yeah, they
Yeah,
pretty much commenced the agricultural revolution.
I've heard that Kurds are from Medes. Medes are an Iranian ethnicity, really
Median.
old
Yeah,
ethnicity that doesn't exist anymore.
yeah.
But so this kind of bullshit. And as I said, go for a Kurdistan. I don't have any problem with it. But get the fuck out of Iranian shoes, Iranian Kurds. You know,
Yeah.
it has its complicity in the region. This Zagros is not because it needs logistic. It has geopolitical problems. It's not that simple. And I want to, with saying that, sorry, I really wanted to mention it one time for the audience that this Persian thing, especially with an Iranian guy. I wanted also your opinion. Let's jump to it.
I don't know much about this. That's why, like, I'd actually like to look into it now. I always just saw
Perfect.
Persian as an ethnicity, but yeah, go on.
And then I want to jump to the next topic as I talked with the complicity of the region, and these motherfuckers don't know shit about it, when they are full of contradictions. Bro, I see that really they are ruining the whole spectrum of left. And I think left is a cool spectrum. It can be, especially I'm center left, pragmatical. You want to do more politics for a bigger extent of the people, and why not? But with this idiocy that they have, with the empty stuff that they are fighting for, they are ruining the whole spectrum of left. Why do we have democracy, for example, in Australia or Germany? It's the combination between proposition and opposition, right and left. And right wingers are winning as hell. And when there is no more left, democratic one, pragmatical one, real one, bro, Kennedy type. Fuck Karl Marx. Left is Jefferson, bro. Left is Kennedy. American leftism is the true one because they are
Right.
pragmatic, and that's why Democrats are so fucked up because they've adopted to Karl Marx. Motherfucker, you have the most OG leftists in America. Jefferson, Kennedy. God bless him. Look at his popularity, and you adopt in Karl Marx, a German bitch. Respect to all Germans. I love Germans. I love Germans. Well, I have to mention it. Always respect to Germans. And this country gave me so many things that I couldn't have in my country. I'm always grateful of Germans. I love them. But how is it in Australia specifically? Because they are ruining this spectrum, and I think it's a danger.
Really good question. When it comes to the political spectrum, I actually nowadays I fail to be able to label myself left or right or anything. I find myself to be a little bit more politically homeless because of everything happening today. Australia's pretty much the same. We're we're a little bit behind, as we always are, like just a little bit after Europe when it comes to political identification and those culture wars. But we're pretty much on the same boat in the sense that I would probably identify myself as conventionally left-leaning. Okay, many leftist ideas like rationality, dismissing religion, separation of church and state, um, uh, secularism, certain um, social policies within a free enterprise capitalist sort of society, but with some social policies. All of these are sort of leftist ideals, which all of which I subscribe to. But in this day and age, many traits of the left, of today's left, I'd be like, no, fuck that. And so at the same time, I don't really identify with many right wing values either. So I'm sort of homeless right now. I'm a little bit politically homeless. Now, you mentioned the whole political parties and them aligning with the Islamists. I can tell you about Australia's example specifically. We have the Labor Party, which is like the Labor Party, typically centre left. Um, they made Australia really good, to be honest. They gave the social reforms like Medicare, which is free healthcare. You have retirement funds. You have social security. Many good things that Australia has built to be Australia. The unions built the Labor Party. The Liberal Party is supposed to be a little bit more centre right. And then um, about in the 90s, another party was formed, but this party was formed as a grassroots environmental movement called the Greens Party. So they
Oh,
actually originally had nothing to do with geopolitics, but they started just as a sort of environmental movement. A lot of them consisted of like hippies and preventing, the destruction of forests and it originally started with the building of a dam in Tasmania, that same state, which I said Israel is like the third of the size of that state. You can Google it. Anyways, what am I getting at? The Greens Party, since the 90s up until today, 2025, I actually used to support them just because of the whole environmentalist sense. Because in my heart, I'm an environmentalist. If you've seen my work, it's centered a lot around wildlife advocacy. I love animals. I love nature. I love these
All
things.
you Australians are environmentalists. All of you. Your connection,
Yeah,
you people have a different connection with nature. It's beautiful.
that's a stereotype, but a lot of people aren't, right? A lot of
I,
people are
I,
scared
I've
of.
heard you eat lunch with kangaroos.
No, that's not true. Yeah, we ride kangaroos on the way to school. Um, but anyways, what am I getting at is like I actually used to support them for their environmental policies, and then they started getting into geopolitics and
Yeah.
the sort of politics, and then I saw them aligning with pro-Palestinian ideology, and I'm like, oh shit, nah, fuck that. And then that whole concept of red and black circle jerk came to play again. It all made sense for me, and I'm like, nah, you can all go fuck yourselves. So, um, it goes back to that as well, right?
Hmm.
Um, this sort of Australia is the same sort of like Europe in the sense that political identification of left is also so twisted right now. And that's why when people ask me, what am I, left or right? I don't fucking know, but I tell them what I do support and what sort of policies I support. Interestingly enough, though, a lot of people have messaged me and they've actually found solace in my sort of platform because they tell me, hey, I'm like you. I'm an environmentalist. I love wildlife. I want to protect the environment, protect biodiversity. But at the same time, I'm against Islamist ideology and I'm against this mass migration of people coming to the West and not integrating into Western values. So thank you. I find comfort in seeing someone like yourself, and that's why I struggle to call myself a leftist. And I see that in a many people. So I can tell you that the left today is lost. They're lost their way.
That's the problem,
Yeah,
bro.
it's
We
it's a
are the
massive
real
problem.
we are the real leftists, and we don't have any party. We don't have any voice. We don't have
Yeah,
anything to say. That's the
yeah,
problem, you know.
yeah.
We are the way you said, you framed it perfectly. You know, politically,
Homeless.
I'm a bit homeless, and that's the problem. Where is the Labour Party? Where is the SPD in Germany? The Volkspartei, the party of the citizens. Where is it, bro? SPD in the last election got the worst result in its history. SPD is the oldest party in Germany. SPD is the one that they did they did do the job for reunification of East and West Germany. They are a major party. But when you right now go for their programs before the election in Germany, 90% similar to Greens. Where is your fucking
Mm.
spectrum? And I have really problem with this mother. And I think really you did touch a major point. This motherfucker Greens. I don't know why they are there. I don't know what they are talking about. I don't know what the fuck is their agenda. And they do everything other than protecting mother nature, which is wonderful. Really. I mean, for example, at the end of the day, we make politics for a better life for human. Beside it, we try to be better in protecting our nature. Perfect. For example, in Berlin, you know, these are the stuff that we are dealing with daily. For example, in Berlin, we have a kind of apartment or house crisis. You know, the solution would be that that the government, sorry, that the government of Berlin would go for state government. We are our own state, city state we are, and would go and support companies that they are building houses with the kind of governmental support. Therefore, it would be attractive for them to build more houses. Now the coalition is between CDU, Christian Democratic Party, and SPD, Labor one. They did pass this legislation in Berlin Parliament. Who was against it? Which party? Die Linke, far left, and Greens. And what was their argument? Because you are passing this legislation and it would be harmful for environment. Motherfucker, people don't have any fucking houses. The people that they don't have prosperity or welfare, they don't give a fuck about bunch of trees. If you're so smart in your way, you have to keep the prosperity of the people beside it with logic, with science work. You have to go for, kind of implementing more environmentally politics. I'm sorry, policies. English second language. You have to go for environment friendly policies, but they don't do that. The way you said hippies, they are a combination of bunch of random uneducated people. They call themselves Greens, and their beautiful work for nature is that they go with their fucked up clothes, they didn't shower for a week, and they grab a guitar beside the Spree, the river of Berlin in Warschau Straße. They play the guitar. Oh, Mother Nature. What the fuck? Bro, it's serious. It's serious. We are dealing with the lives of people. It's my life, it's your life, and others.
They're the same people that will jump in the sort of Palestinian rallies and label you a
Same
white
people.
colonizer and all that sort of
Yeah.
shit. And
Labeling the original people of this land white colonized. Oh my god.
what's funny is we have a whole bunch of people here in Australia, and I'm sure the same cases in Europe, like sort of like Greta Thunberg,
Fuck Greta
right?
Thunberg. Fuck her.
I,
I mean,
I
as
actually used to
freedom
like
of
her.
speech bitches. Fuck Greta Thunberg.
I used to like her, to be honest, when she was much younger, and again, she was just about the whole climate change thing. But
Come on,
anyways,
bro. She did mention I had to be right now in schools, and now I'm here. She was right. She had to stay in school. Maybe she could learn something. Really.
we have several I don't even know if you want to call them activists or just Karen, Australian Karens, where I'm not going to name them, but everyone knows who they are.
Hmm.
2 days ago, they were like man-hating, radical, sort of the third wave feminist type. And today they jump on the Palestinian bandwagon. They're pro-Hamas all of a sudden. Like they're feminists, but they're pro-Hamas. It's like, oh, fuck. It
Bro, they are not
fucking.
feminists. They are
It,
absolutely not feminists.
I don't
I'm
know what they
feminist.
are.
No, no, no.
The,
They are.
it fucking.
Sometimes they identify themselves as a table, and
The,
they are not feminists. They did forget the core value of feminism:
yeah.
independent money resources for women. You know,
Dude,
uh,
woman life freedom is true feminism. What we see in the woman life freedom
yeah, yeah.
wave movement is genuine feminism, like inclusion of men, and you see men actually joining the movement led by women. That is like the epitome, the prime example of what feminism should be. And I don't see anything wrong with that.
And about this feminism and the radical ideologies. For example, you see that again this kind of radical Kurdish, Iraqi, Syrian, Turkish Kurds that they are
Yeah.
operating here,
Separatists you're talking about.
separatists. Yeah, they
Yeah, yeah.
try to Kurdicizing, the woman life freedom movement, and that's so interesting. Woman life freedom is the biggest national-wide movement in the history of humankind that the leaders and the slogans are women. In the
Yeah.
history, we don't
Yeah.
have such a thing.
Yeah.
We Iranians, we are proud of that. And
Yeah.
they want to try to say it and say that it's a Kurdish movement. Why do you want to steal it from at least 90 million Iranians? Because I say at least because it's about the whole Middle East, the oppressed women of Egypt, Iraq, everywhere. And you know, that's the thing that these radical ideas are trying to develop. Why are you trying to divide people when
Well,
everyone
I
is
think the
calling
idea
that?
is that Genjian Azadi did come from the Kurds, the slogan originally.
Absolutely,
Yeah, but
absolutely. But
obviously
we,
the nationwide movement is
yeah,
Iranian. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we did develop it. Why not? It's beautiful. You know,
Yeah,
something
absolutely.
that Kurds they've invented, and we
Yeah.
Iranians did expand it.
Yes.
Beautiful. Now your
Absolutely.
movement is bigger, but
Yeah.
their intentions are something else. They
Yeah.
are ideological. That's the problem.
Mm.
Not all of them they are getting this kind of democracy, level of funds from the government. Not all of them. Not all of them are getting money. Some of them are really ideological, crazy,
Mm.
really crazy, mad, and it's unbelievable. You know what I mean?
As you know how the Islamic regime always says like, if we go, Iran will be split up. But in
Bullshit.
reality, if they stay, it'll just be even more
Yeah,
and more
yeah,
split
yeah,
up.
yeah.
If they
Uh,
go, we would be more united, actually.
bro, they would
All these
they would
separatists wouldn't
pull us
exist
in.
if
They would
they
pull us
weren't
into
there.
civil war
Yeah, yeah.
in this
They're
Islamic regime.
single-handedly doing that.
I mean, yeah, and they would be more than happy to start a civil war.
Oh
They
yeah,
would have their parts in Tehran, whatever. Fuck the rest of the country.
absolutely,
And this
absolutely.
smartness of Iranians is something to appreciate. You
Yeah.
know, we still try to stick together. That's important, and I love
Mm,
it.
mm.
You know.
It's incredible, bro. I gotta say, as someone again who grew up in the West my entire life,
Mm,
what I see in Iranians, especially what they've endured, is really really incredible. It's so inspiring for me, and every single day I learn more and more and more. Whether it be like just political knowledge and social knowledge and cultural knowledge, individuals like yourself, the level of enthusiasm, despite what you've been put through that fucking murderous regime, but that sense of resilience to just continue going through, and it simply just really describes our indigenous culture
yeah,
of thousands of years of we've been going through all these different colonial um, forces. And today it's the Islamic regime and the IRGC. We will go through this one as well. 47
yeah,
years. And I think they're teetering on the brink of collapse. I really believe that. There's plenty going on. Of course, Australia is doing their bit. We're doing our bit here. But of course, Europe has also just announced their snapback mechanism. I
yeah,
hope the
yeah,
European Union can soon eventually come to terms with establishing and prescribing the IRGC as a terrorist entity and everything else that comes with it. So we'll see.
yeah. I
And
think
Germany.
I think the future is bright. Future for us Iranians is bright.
I think so too, brother. I think we're going to see free Iran in our generation. I think we're going to
Yeah,
see
yeah.
free Iran in our time.
Oh my God, bro, I become passionate for that. The tourism industry in Shiraz. Oh my God, we would dominate the
Yeah,
tourism just
yeah.
with Shiraz. Iran, the rest of Iran. Oh my God,
Mark
Ali,
my words.
go for it.
I'm gonna make sure nobody touches the Persian Gulf, and I'm gonna start my own diving charter there. I'm gonna take people in the ocean, and we're gonna go
Oh,
see some sharks, and no one's allowed to touch it. It's gonna be fully protected, marine protected zone.
Nice, nice. You see, that's beautiful. You have your own ideas, your major ideas about the Iran, and that's what we need in the future. I think about tourism, geopolitics. I want to see Merkava tanks. I want to see
Mm,
new technology of defense for Iran. I want to see tourism. I want to see money. I want to see development. I want to see
absolutely.
prosperity, welfare system, other stuff.
So
You
much
think about
potential.
the environmental perspective of it, and that's what we need for the future of Iran. We have to get in and do the rest, do the job, and finally, for the first time in our history, with the beautiful national-wide slogan and movement that we have, Woman Life Freedom, we have to make it. We have the potential. The blood of Gina Mahsa Amini is boiling, bro. Is boiling more than ever. And that's my hope. If she was alive, she was the same age like me.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
Bless her soul, man. Bless her soul.
bless her. Bro, what a cool podcast. I can't imagine. It was a really cool episode. I really hope that you've enjoyed it. I really hope to, and you had a really good time. And that's what I
Absolutely,
try
man.
to
Always love
make
these
for you.
conversations. Like I said, I only ever learn from you lot, and continuously learning and continuously unlearning. And off we go with that.
You're lovely,
Yeah.
bro. Let's go for the outro music, and I hope that you would have a wonderful night. And thank you for your time, bro. I really appreciate it.
Bless you, brother. Sending the love.
You hear?